Donald Trump returned to the White House promising to fundamentally reshape the American economy. Tariffs would bring factories back. Foreign countries would finally pay their fair share. American manufacturing would boom. Trade relationships would be rewritten. And the United States, Trump argued, would become richer, stronger, and less dependent on the rest of the world. But more than a year into his second term, Americans are now living through something much bigger than a campaign promise. They are living through an economic experiment. Tariffs, trade wars, higher energy costs, a major military conflict with Iran, slower economic growth, and growing questions about whether the price Americans are paying today will eventually produce the stronger America Trump promised tomorrow. So how much has Trump's economic strategy actually cost America? And is the country getting enough in return? Let's start with the policy at the center of Trump's economic agenda: tariffs. Trump has long argued that America allowed foreign countries to take advantage of its enormous consumer market. American companies moved factories overseas. Foreign manufacturers sold goods into the United States. American industrial towns lost jobs. And Washington, in Trump's view, did too little to stop it. His solution has been tariffs. The idea sounds straightforward. Make imported products more expensive. Give American manufacturers an advantage. Encourage companies to build inside the United States. Collect more money at the border. And use access to the American market as leverage in negotiations with other countries. But there is an important detail. When the United States imposes a tariff, the foreign government does not normally write a check directly to Washington. The tariff is initially paid by the company importing the product into America. That importer then has several choices: absorb the cost, pressure its supplier for a lower price, find another supplier, or pass some of the additional cost onto American customers. And evidence from the Federal Reserve suggests that tariffs have indeed pushed American prices higher. Researchers at the Federal Reserve estimated that tariffs implemented through November 2025 had raised core goods prices by around 3% by February 2026. Across the broader core inflation measure, those tariffs contributed roughly 0.8 of a percentage point. That matters because American households were already frustrated by years of higher prices. Even when the rate of inflation slows, the price level does not automatically return to where it was before. Groceries remain expensive. Housing remains expensive. Insurance remains expensive. Utilities remain expensive. And then tariffs add pressure to many of the goods Americans buy. For supporters of Trump's strategy, however, this short-term pain may be part of the point. They argue that America cannot rebuild its industrial base without making foreign production less attractive. A factory takes years to plan and construct. Supply chains built over decades cannot move back to America in a few months. So from that perspective, judging the policy after only a year may be premature. Companies have announced major investments in American manufacturing. Factories, data centers, semiconductor facilities, and other projects are being expanded across the country. The administration argues that tariffs, tax policy, deregulation, and pressure on foreign competitors are changing corporate calculations. But there is a difference between an investment announcement and a completed factory. Projects can be delayed. Companies can change plans. Modern factories can also be heavily automated, meaning billions of dollars in investment may not create the enormous numbers of manufacturing jobs many voters imagine. So the manufacturing verdict remains open. But Americans are already experiencing the immediate costs. And then came another enormous economic shock: the war with Iran. The 2026 conflict in the Middle East transformed what had primarily been a trade and inflation story into an energy and national security story. Military action in the region dramatically disrupted shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow waterway is one of the most important energy routes on Earth. A huge share of the world's oil and liquefied natural gas trade normally passes through or near it. When fighting intensified and shipping through Hormuz became severely restricted, the consequences traveled far beyond the Middle East. Oil production was shut in. Tankers faced enormous risks. War risk insurance became more expensive. Shipping routes were disrupted. And global energy prices surged. Brent crude oil climbed above $100 per barrel during the early stages of the disruption. And although prices later eased, the effects did not simply disappear. The Federal Reserve reported that energy prices had surged dramatically compared with a year earlier, with much of that increase linked to the Middle East conflict and the disruption of oil transportation. That matters because oil touches almost everything. Americans see the most obvious effect at the gas pump. But higher energy prices can also raise transportation costs. Airfares, trucking, manufacturing, agriculture, shipping, plastics, chemicals, and ultimately the price of many goods sitting on store shelves. So an American family does not need to understand geopolitics to experience the economic consequences of a war thousands of miles away. They may simply notice that filling the car costs more, that an airline ticket costs more, or that businesses begin passing higher transportation costs into their prices. And then there is the direct financial cost of the military operation itself. In June, the Trump administration asked Congress for $87.6 billion in supplemental funding. The White House said most of that request was intended to address urgent needs related to the operation against Iran. The request included military personnel and readiness costs, operational expenses, replacing weapons and munitions that had been used, classified programs, energy security requirements, and billions of dollars intended to strengthen the American defense industrial base. It is important to understand what that number means. An $87.6 billion funding request does not mean every dollar had already been spent on the war. The package also included funding for needs outside the Iran operation. But it demonstrates something important. Modern warfare is extraordinarily expensive. Missiles cost money. Aircraft operations cost money. Ships cost money to operate. Munitions must be replaced. Personnel must be supported. And equipment used today eventually has to be repaired or replenished tomorrow. Trump and his supporters argue that those costs are justified. The administration says the military campaign was necessary to confront the threat posed by Iran and protect American national security interests. From that perspective, the question is not simply whether the war costs money. Every major military operation does. The question is whether avoiding the confrontation could ultimately have cost America even more. Critics see the calculation differently. They argue that American taxpayers are paying billions for another Middle Eastern conflict, while households at home are already struggling with housing costs, debt, healthcare, and inflation. And they point out that the war creates an additional economic cost through higher energy prices. That means Americans can potentially pay twice. Once, through federal spending, and again, through the price of fuel and energy. This is where Trump's second-term economic story becomes much more complicated. Because tariffs and war do not operate independently. Higher tariffs can put upward pressure on goods prices. Higher oil prices can put upward pressure on energy and transportation costs. And if inflation stays elevated, the Federal Reserve has less room to cut interest rates aggressively. That matters for mortgages, car loans, credit cards, business investment, and the broader economy. The Federal Reserve itself has acknowledged that the Middle East conflict changed expectations around inflation and interest rates. So a geopolitical decision can eventually reach an American family through something as ordinary as the monthly payment on a home or car. Then there is economic growth. America is not in an economic collapse. That needs to be made clear. The United States remains the world's largest major economy. Consumers continue spending. Businesses continue investing. Millions of Americans continue working. But growth has slowed. During the second quarter of 2026, real U.S. GDP increased at an annualized rate of around 1.5%. That was down from just over 2% in the first quarter. One quarter does not prove that a president has damaged an economy. Presidents do not control every movement in GDP. Energy shocks, interest rates, global demand, and private investment all matter. But slower growth occurring alongside tariff pressure, geopolitical uncertainty, and higher energy costs deserves attention. Businesses dislike uncertainty. A company deciding whether to invest hundreds of millions of dollars wants to know what its costs will be. What tariff rate will apply next year? Where should it source components? Will another country retaliate? How expensive will energy be? Will interest rates fall? Will shipping routes remain reliable? When those questions become difficult to answer, some businesses delay investment, and that uncertainty itself can become an economic cost. But Trump's policies also produce revenue. Tariffs bring significant money into the federal government. And that matters because America has an enormous fiscal problem. The Congressional Budget Office projects a federal deficit of roughly $1.9 trillion in fiscal year 2026. America already carries an extraordinary amount of public debt, and interest payments consume an increasingly important share of federal resources. Tariff revenue, therefore, gives Washington another source of money. Supporters argue that if America is going to import enormous quantities of foreign goods anyway, the government should collect revenue while encouraging domestic production. Critics respond that much of that revenue ultimately comes from economic activity inside America, because importers and consumers absorb significant portions of the tariff cost. Both arguments contain some truth. Tariffs generate real federal revenue, but they are not free money. Someone ultimately bears the economic cost. So how much damage has Trump actually done to America? The most accurate answer in August 2026 is that the final verdict is not yet available. There are clearly measurable costs. Tariffs have contributed to higher goods prices. The Iran conflict has pushed energy costs higher and created major military spending requirements. Businesses face greater uncertainty. Economic growth has slowed. And households are experiencing pressure from prices that were already high before these new shocks arrived. But there are also potential benefits. Tariffs produce government revenue. They give Washington negotiating leverage. They may encourage some companies to move production into the United States. American defense manufacturing may receive additional investment. And reducing dependence on potentially hostile foreign suppliers could provide strategic benefits that cannot be measured only in next quarter's GDP figures. That is why Trump's economic strategy is better understood as a gamble. He is effectively asking Americans to tolerate disruption today in exchange for a stronger, more independent economy tomorrow. Higher prices now, potentially more domestic production later. Military expenditure now, potentially greater security later. Trade conflict now, potentially more favorable trade relationships later. The problem is that the costs arrive immediately. The benefits may take years. And some of those benefits may never materialize at the scale promised. If Trump's strategy succeeds, historians may eventually describe this period as a painful restructuring of the American economy. A moment when the United States decided that cheap imports and globalized supply chains had created too much strategic vulnerability. Factories could return. Critical industries could become more secure. America could become less dependent on its geopolitical rivals. And tariff revenue could help finance the federal government. But if the strategy fails, the outcome could look very different. Americans could be left with higher prices, more expensive energy, greater federal spending, disrupted trade relationships, slower economic growth, and a manufacturing revival too small to compensate for the cost. That is the real question Americans should be asking. Not whether Donald Trump has already destroyed the economy, and not whether every Trump policy has already succeeded, but whether the enormous economic price of this transformation will ultimately buy America something worth having. Because the experiment is no longer theoretical, Americans are already living through it. They see it when they buy imported goods. They see it at the gas pump. Businesses see it in supply chains. Washington sees it in tariff revenue and military spending. And families see it in the amount of money left in their bank accounts at the end of the month. Trump promised to fundamentally change the American economy. He is doing exactly that. Whether Americans ultimately become richer because of those changes, or simply end up paying more, may become one of the defining economic questions of his second presidency. This is Motive AI News. The world is changing fast. And we're here to explain why.